Advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Grant Pichet and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grant Pichet is Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism. Doreen Grant Pichet. Dr. Grant Pichet. Doreen Grant Pichet. Dr. Doreen Grant Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Good morning and welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. We're here with Dr. Doreen Grant Pichet on a very special day, special to me, because we get to celebrate you extra today, Dr. Grant Pichet.
Oh, good morning, Shannon, and thank you. That's so kind of you. And I hope I don't lose my voice on this call. Because talking so much.
Oh, that it is. Yeah. We need some hot tea and lemon for you right now. But we'll try to take it easy on you today. I want to welcome our audience. We are live right now, and today is April 8th. It's 2025. And if things look a little different and a little strange, it's because we are in the process of moving our studio. So we're doing this kind of like how we did it during COVID. And probably that's going to be for the next couple of weeks while we get things moved and set up in the new studio. And we'll try to give you some social media updates on how that is going. But thrilled to still have the opportunity to be here with Dr. Grant Pichet, and we are live right now. Our starting topic today is outcomes and what's possible. It's a very near and dear to my heart, especially right now. We're going to be talking with her about that. I want to pause for just a second and tell you that we are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as probably a dozen other sites. And our fabulous Chris Desmond will show you some of those things on the screen. I want to remind you that we have two, not one, but two very robust YouTube channels. So if you want to watch Ask Dr. Doreen, go to the Ask Dr. Doreen YouTube channel, or we also have the autism-live YouTube channel as well for everything else. But we hope that you'll be checking things out there. Also, Ask Dr. Doreen is its own podcast. You can find that on any platform in which you are downloading podcasts for free. Just look for Ask Dr. Doreen and you will be able to download it. I want you to know that it is a free download, but there is a bit of a cost to it. And the way that we defray that cost is by having advertisements that air during your, when you download the podcast, just in the middle of it, it'll break out into a commercial. I hope that works for you and that you say, woohoo, I'm not paying for this. They are. But if some of you prefer to get a podcast ad free, we have a way for you to do that. You simply go to glow.fm/autism-live. Now, that should say Autism Network. I don't know why we named it Autism Live. But it's a $5 a month, very small fee that you pay, and you get everything that we do on the Autism Network, including Ask Dr. Doreen. It shows up directly in your inbox, free of ads, and you can listen at your leisure. I also want you to know that this month of April, we took so much time and care during the previous month, knowing that we were going to be out of a studio, that we are doing the Ask Dr. Doreen's live, but the rest of the month is pretty much pre-recorded, and it is some mind-blowing shows, you guys. I hope you're checking out our calendar to see all the shows and guests. Tomorrow is a very big show. Tomorrow is the P2I panel that Dr. Grant Pichet participated in. And if it doesn't blow your mind and change your mind about some of how you're looking at autism, then I don't know what would. So please make sure that you're watching tomorrow to see that, but check out the whole calendar to see what's happening here in the month of April. And then make sure that you're here with us live for the Ask Dr. Doreen's, because those we just love it when it's live because you guys get to interact, and we hope that you guys are interacting. Rodney has already said hello. Hello, Rodney. So thrilled that you're here. I also want to say that on Thursdays and Fridays in April, we have something really remarkable. We're airing autism-live parent to parents in Spanish. And that's all because Chris Desmond is a wizard. I am not fluent in Spanish, but he makes it look like I am. I know some of you tuned in and watched and said, hey, I'd like to hear this in English. I don't speak Spanish fluently. Just know that whatever the title of the show is, the English version is already on the YouTube channels. So, or you could do the thing that other people are doing, which is ask for translation in live and get that from Facebook or YouTube. But we're really excited to be airing those in Spanish. But I know, Rodney, you were one of the people who wrote in and said, why am I don't need this in Spanish. I'd like this in English, but that's what's going on so that you understand. Okay. So also, one of the things that's really fun about this week is that we get to celebrate you extra this week. It is your birthday this week and we love you so much. So we love your birthday. And, the fabulous Chris Desmond and I wanted to get you some fun things. Do you want to do it now or do you want to do it at the end of the show?
Sure, whatever. I'd be happy to do it now.
Okay. So there are two presents. And one of them, they both have stories behind them. You decide which one you'd like to open first.
Why don't we do this one? The smaller one?
Okay. So that is actually your birthday present from last year, but they were out of them. And it took them an entire year for them to get this because you talked about something that you really enjoyed doing, but you weren't able to do for a very specific reason. So that's the name of that present, the story behind that present.
So here we have.
It's green.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's wonderful. It's something that kills mosquitoes.
That's true, and it's all natural. And so because I know you had talked about how much you love to be outdoors, but the bugs were eating you alive. It's all natural, and it really works. But they were redesigning their packaging, so try it.
Is that what these are? Okay.
Yeah. So it's Tom's TNT. This is not a commercial, but I've used it at my house because they have this whole science behind it. That when the thing that, some of us get eaten alive and our partners don't, right? But it's our breath that they smell and they want our breath. So that's why they come close.
Really?
I did not know that about mosquitoes. But so it's a mixture that you mix it up and it's got some live yeast in it. And so the mosquitoes go to that instead of your breath and then it makes them explode. It's not kind to the mosquitoes. It makes them explode. Oh, but I found that it really worked at our house, and I know you said that you really enjoyed being a
Yes. This is so important for me. It's interesting because we, in where we live in Florida, it is very, very buggy, and that would be amazing because I love to go out for walks, but I can't in the afternoons just because of this, right? And the other issue is when I come to Los Angeles to visit my kids and so on in Woodland Hills, that's started to become. I remember, Shannon, when years ago there were absolutely no mosquitoes in California. We would show up about that. Now, unfortunately, everywhere you go, or maybe it's just me attracting them from all the way to the past. They fall.
Well, there's 4 in that packaging. You stick them in the 4 ends of your property, but I actually have a second one for you because so you can use that that was for the Florida house, but I have a second one for you. You can try it at the
so much. I will
and see
100% try these. Right. I look forward to it. Thank you. You should see it's hilarious number of things I have. I have those electrical things, like the things that have a fan. I have every possible thing.
You too.
Looking forward.
But this worked better than anything. I also tried the Listerine mix. That didn't work, but this actually worked. So I want you to try it and see if it works for you. But then the other one is this year's gift, which is a very big deal.
Thank you very much. This one is huge. About beautiful wrapping as well. So
and you have to know that this is all Chris the mind of Chris Desmond. When you let Chris Desmond run riot.
Thank you to both of you. Can I open the card later or?
Absolutely. Whatever. Yes.
Because I figure that I want to take my time.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was a very exhausting morning already today. Since, as you know, we're starting to do retreats now for cardigan, and so I didn't really have any rest last week. So, the weekend. So it was nice.
You need a weekend.
I do, and I don't have one next weekend either. Okay, excited. Let's see what's anybody. Oh, I need scissors. Things that have scissors, right?
So, you were prepared. For those of you who are just tuning in, it is Dr. Grant Pichet's birthday this week. She's turning 32. And we can't see it because it's because the
Hold on, I'm going to get this right. So you can see, these are my 3 dogs. That is amazing. I got to get it so you guys can see this. Hold up.
a little at a time.
Yeah. Here we go. There's 2 of them. There they are. There they are.
Isn't that amazing?
They, my Rottweiler, and this is Frankie, my Cocker Spaniel, and this is Harper, my Golden Doodle, and this is Doreen. I love this. I can't wait to show this to my husband and the kids. This is amazing.
Well, your kids were semi-involved because we needed photos. So I think they know. But
Goodness, thank you so much. This is beautiful. I love this so much. What a great gift. Thank you so much.
entirely Chris's idea. And
Oh my gosh.
well, Chris is like the funniest person alive. Uh,
And the most creative and the most
Yeah.
creative. Thank you very much to you and Chris. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Love that. Thank
We're
you.
celebrating the things you love. So that's
Thank
really
you, Erin.
okay. So now today we're talking about outcomes and what's possible. I find that this can be a very what's the word I want? A dividing conversation, and sometimes people get very emotional. So we're just giving the disclaimer ahead of time. If you find yourself getting emotional, it's okay. We welcome your emotion and your opinions about all of this, but we are going to start to answer some questions that people have already written in, but you guys can write in right now. The chat is open. So the first question, my son is 3 and just started ABA and school. What do we need to do to assure his best possible outcome? Great question. Great way to kick us off.
Exactly. A wonderful start to this discussion. So, I guess I see it as a very, very simple answer, and I'm sure it's not that simple for people when you think about it, but it's actually quite simple. You look at any child at any age and you want to establish some goals first, right? Like, so my child is not doing certain things and I'm concerned. I don't even care what the diagnosis is, Chad. Like, it doesn't really matter to this discussion. It could be autism. It could be anything else that could be, a disorder that affects arithmetic, which actually exists. It could be dyslexia. It could be ADHD. It could be anything that's going on with our child. And we look and see, oh, my child is not doing really well in a certain area, right? And, we talk about autism not only because we work with kids with autism, but also because autism is very pervasive and it influences multiple different areas of functioning. So, for example, with ADHD, language is not really affected. Attention is, right? But with autism, we're looking at more than one area. And we're looking at for different children, it's different things. So it could be their language is affected, their social behavior and the results of their language is affected. A lot of children have issues with cognitive skills, like perspective taking, theory of mind, executive functioning skills. Some children who are actually very severely affected by autism might even have issues with motor skills, adaptive skills, kind of like self-help, taking care of yourself daily. There's lots of different things that are affected, right? You establish that as a parent, and you're like, okay, these are the areas that I want my child to have special help in. And it doesn't really matter what kind of help, but we're talking, these are the areas I want to help my child to improve. There's lots of reasons why we might want to help our kids to improve. That's a different discussion. But once you've established those things, you have to go back and say, okay, how much time does it take for me to actually get to these goals? And are these goals realistic given what my child is struggling with? So, for example, if you might have a child who has a lot of underlying health issues that are going to affect their progress, so you need to make your goals realistic based on wherever else the child is dealing with, right? But you establish those goals and then you work towards them. And from my perspective, when you establish the goals and you are realistic about what can be accomplished in what period of time with whatever intervention, you're going to get to those goals. The issue is, what are the goals you're setting for your child? And we talk about that for a second, because that's where it starts to get complicated. So as parents, we tend to maybe, when I remember talking to a lot of parents when I used to do intakes myself frequently, and I would say, so what do you want for your child? Okay, so we have an idea of all these things that are maybe delayed or different. What do you want? And some parents would right off the bat say, I want my child to function like any other child. I want my child to attend first grade, second grade, and I want them to have friends, get married, go to college, all these things, right? Other parents would say, I just want my child to not hit his sibling, or I want my child to not run away, right? So when you have a lot going on, it becomes very difficult to, you kind of tend, we as people tend to select the goals that are the most vital and are right in front of us. So for example, yesterday my child ran away and I almost lost my mind. So my goal is just to get my child to not run away. So, and that's understandable. It's a very normal thing for us to want to think about the most serious thing. But then once we have that under control, you need to select another goal. Because realistically, our kids continue to learn. They never stop learning. Right? And especially if you're doing ABA, you can increase their learning the more ABA you do. So this question of what is the highest outcome or possibility is really is very closely tied to what the parent chooses for their child and how committed, I guess, everyone is to making that happen. Does that kind of address the issue, Shanna?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely starts to Dr. Grandpichet. I think because she's asking the question and because she said my child has started ABA and school.
And it is 3. So we got that particular scenario.
Yes.
Let's say in the beginning, you do an assessment of your child's skills in all different areas of functioning. So we're talking about language and social behavior, adaptive behavior, motor, play, cognitive skills, executive functioning skills, and of course, academic. All the different areas of functioning, right? And you establish that your child is doing pretty well in all of these areas, except maybe they don't have a really good social skills. Like they have language, but they don't know really how to use that language to interact with their peers. Okay, then it might be beneficial to actually have partial ABA, partial school, because now you're already exposed to other kids, and the ABA therapist and the therapy program can really help your child hone in on those skills and then apply them to that environment in school. That's one child. About another child who is lacking in the area of language, doesn't have all the skills necessary to express themselves or to even understand a lot of what's going on around them, and maybe also have some challenging behaviors. A few, right? When they get frustrated because they're not able to express themselves, they might shove or push instead of expressing themselves. Now, if you take that child at the age of 3 and you have, let's say, 15 to 20 hours of ABA, and then the rest of the time the child is in school, what you're doing is you're putting the child in an environment that they're not ready for yet. You're putting them in an environment where possibly they will have other kids bullying them. They're not able to really interact with other kids. It won't be a successful integration often, right? So in those cases, our preference or my preference is to say, why don't we use the age of 3 to 4 and really give your child a ton of one-to-one teaching, which is the ABA, get their skills to a point where they're going to really benefit and then integrate with other kids, because now they have all these additional skills that they learn, and now they can use those in a school setting. I want to make sure that when my children go to school, they are successful, right? Because they're going to be in school for a long time. I don't want them to go to school and have a bad experience, and I have to really work on reversing that. So that's the second child. The third child might be someone who is even more severely affected, right? They don't know how to communicate at all. They, as a result, have a lot of different challenging behaviors, et cetera, et cetera. With that child, I'm not only going to try to keep them out of school for a while and really, really work on one-to-one skills, but it won't even be just for 1 year. I might want to do that for 2 years. I'm going to be working with the child to get them to a point where when they start using their time in school, they're successful. I think parents need to realize that the most valuable thing for our kids when they're starting out is time. It's time. It's when you still, and I believe me, Shannon, and I have so many parents who say to me, but I want my child to learn social skills. And I think, therefore, if I put them in, I don't know, the gym with other kids or that kind of thing, it'll help them, or school, it'll really help them. And I will tell you, every skill is taught best when it's one-to-one in ABA. Every skill, it doesn't matter what skill it is, every skill is taught best in an ABA one-to-one format. It is not taught as rapidly or as auspiciously in school. Why? Because the person in school, the teacher, might be the best teacher on earth, but they have 20 kids to deal with, and sometimes more, or 40, or 40. And the issue here is you don't get that time back. When your child is 3, you have a couple of years of time where you could be doing very intensive ABA work to get the child ready, right? And that's, think about it, when you go to another country and you want to learn a language, you definitely take some classes. And the more classes you take and the more practice you do one-on-one, the faster you're going to learn that language. And then you can use it in your day-to-day life. And I think that's something that is very hard, because as parents, we feel better when they're in school. We feel like they're starting in school, and we trust school. That's the other thing. We trust the school to be able to teach our kids. And, you and I have had too many bad experiences, unfortunately, where we feel that schools, and there's a lot of improvement, I will say, but schools are still not really, first of all, teachers don't have the training that a behavior analyst receives. They just don't. And their method of teaching doesn't work as well for kids with autism. They, as I said, have 20, 40 other kids to deal with. It's just not as conducive to growth and reaching the highest potential.
Yeah, and research bears that out as well. I want to say hi to Rosie, that Rosie is here with us. And I also, Anne has written in and said, is level 3 ASD, can they ever speak? My son is 4 years old and still not talking.
Yeah. So there's supposed to be 2 different numbers involved with autism. So this level 3 generally means that the child requires a lot of support. And you're telling us that your child is not vocal. The real question is how much activity and effort is being put into helping the child become vocal. So do you have, did they say the age?
4 years old.
Yeah. And so with your child, are you doing about 40 hours of one-to-one teaching ABA? And is that focused on the development of language? So a lot of times we don't do what's necessary. If you are doing what's necessary, within about a year or so, you should be able to develop some language, speech. And then at that point, the person who is in charge of your program can tell you, if your child is going to rapidly expand or no, if they're not. And let me tell you, there are some children who don't gain the ability to actually speak. And that's perfectly okay. It is what it is. And we have to give our kids their best way to communicate, not necessarily always speak. And so if your child is a child who's received a lot of intervention, good, high quality intervention focused on developing language, and they're still not developing language, then I think that it would be important to evaluate non-vocal ways of communication. Things like a flight system, which will then introduce the child also to things like keyboarding and then later maybe using an on-device. But it is very important to help our kids, or some parents prefer sign, but it is very important to get our kids to a point where they can actually communicate. I wouldn't really do that. Yes, I would use it. I would integrate non-vocal means of communication together with a program that is still focused on trying to teach the child to speak. But I wouldn't go to full non-vocal programming at the age of 4. I'm just not ready at that point to say this child is not able to speak. The other part of this, obviously, is the child making sounds? Are they, do they have utterances that can be shaped into language? Are they, do they have other things going on? A lot of children obviously have aphasia or other issues that are going on, and apraxia, etc. And we have to work on those issues as well.
But just in the purest sense about, is it possible for a level 3 kiddo who's at non-vocal? It's possible. Absolutely. Christina Adams is in the house and she says, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Christina. Hope you're well.
We love her so much. You guys, Christina is the author of A Real Boy, the book that brought me to CARD and brought me to Dr. Grant Pichet. I called that my Bible for like 2 years. She also has a second book, Camel Crazy. She's been a guest on the show. We miss you, Christina. Love to see you sometime soon. Okay, so I want to get to this next question because I think it's at the heart of a lot of what we just talked about. The parent writes in and said, when my daughter was diagnosed 2 years ago, our pediatrician told us that we should lower our expectations and, in quotes, love her like she is.
Yeah.
First of all, on behalf of all the parents, I just want to say that we already love her exactly like she is, just like all of our children. But just like all of our children, we know that you have to teach them and love them. We didn't listen to the pediatrician and we started ABA. 2 years later, she is talking like a magpie and learning like a sponge. But if I'm being honest, I would love to know what her outcome will be. Is there anyone who can really tell us?
That's amazing. What? I love that. I love that. Good for you. And that's amazing. I love that. Those are the stories that I just love to hear because as parents, we just never, it's almost like the pediatrician is telling you to just give up, without even starting. And as parents, we don't give up. So that's wonderful. Yes, there are ways that you can tell if your child is doing well, and the path that they are on. I think probably the most telling way is to have a really good developmental type of assessment done. For us, that is skills. Our skills, we put out this assessment many, many years ago. It is online and you answer a lot of questions about your child, and that gives you an idea of kind of where they are in different areas of development. It's a validated questionnaire. It's not standardized. Standardized means that it has been compared to thousands of other kids, and it hasn't. Although we could probably do that now, because there are thousands of kids who are on this system. But it is validated. It is pretty valid in terms of skills that you should have at every given age. So this will kind of give you an idea of if they're catching up, they're falling behind to their own age, that sort of thing across all areas. But the best way to go about this, I think, is find a developmental psychologists ask for a kind of a comprehensive evaluation every couple of years. Comprehensive evaluation would include things like language, of course. It would measure the child's language against peers of the same age. Social skills, uh, IQ, intelligence. Intelligence is an interesting thing. When you do a test of IQ, it doesn't necessarily, it's not usually valid if your child is non-vocal because they're just scoring low because they can't understand the language in the test. But it does give you a lot of interesting data, which if you have a good developmental psychologist, they can explain all that to you. For example, it will tell you things that are important to future learning. Things like how strong is your child's memory, like different areas of memory. How strong is your child's ability to attend? How strong is your child's problem solving skills? Those types of things come out of these IQ tests, and they're really, really useful. And then you, of course, want to test the adaptive behavior, test the, I think I said social already, executive functions, cognitive tests. There's lots of different tests that a developmental psychologist would put together in a battery and would assess, and then would sit with you and explain how your child did on each of these. These are not short tests. They're not questionnaires. So it's the child actually doing things. And it takes a couple of days to get through these batteries. Most universities provide these services as well. For example, large universities that have clinics where you can take your child in for developmental assessment. But I'm sure you can also look online and find psychologists. You just want to make sure that you find someone who's going to sit with you and really explain the results. It's not about the scores, it's about the results. So I think that's kind of the best way to get an idea of the trajectory that your child's on.
But then even then, if and help me if I'm wrong, because you know so much more than I do and will ever do. But if you got back the results and it showed, okay, your child is doing well with this, but here is where they're struggling, you could then target that and help that to get better, which would then define the trajectory, would it not?
Exactly. Absolutely. All of these measures are changeable. Absolutely. I mean, that's not saying that people don't realize IQ is changeable. You know what I mean? Everything IQ, which being intelligent quotient, like your level of intelligence, everything is changeable based on what we learn. And that's why it becomes so important how we use our time for learning.
And I think one of my favorite things that this parent said was that, you know, we do love our child exactly the way they are, like our other children, but like our other children, we know that you have to teach them. And I have a member of my family, I have to be careful what I say, but I have a member of my family that was adopted from another country, and this person has a disability. And in that other country, the decision was not to educate them at all. Nothing at all. No education. And to me, that is the highest level of discrimination that can happen. And I saw as a result, when this individual began to, the expectation was that she could learn and would learn. The results have been amazing.
Wonderful.
So I always get concerned when people are like, well, they have a diagnosis of autism. I'll be honest with you, the developmental pediatrician who diagnosed my son, and I said, what should I do? She said, take him home and enjoy him. Yeah, that was her advice to me. And I had bite marks on my arms. And I remember sitting there thinking, it's not that I don't enjoy him, but I feel like there's something more for him and something more for me as a parent than our level of communication is that he bites my arms. Yeah. And she was not offering that. Now, that was many years ago, but I know that there are still some professionals out there who are saying things like that. It's disheartening to me because that feels discriminatory when somebody decides not to teach a person who has potential. It makes me so upset I shake.
Absolutely, Shannon. I totally agree with you. And I think that this is one of the issues with the diagnosis of autism. It is, there's so much around this. Like, we could get into this discussion for a long time. It's not just professionals who immediately with that diagnosis lower the bar as one.
Yeah.
But the entire, all of society is tending to do that as well. And autism being so pervasive, we lower the bar, not just in regards to teaching, but in regards to attending to other important factors as well. For example, children with autism who have significant gastrointestinal issues like diarrhea are ignored. It's ignored. Their stomach issues, their constipation, diarrhea. Would you ignore that in a difference in a typically developing 5-year-old? No. But with autism, a lot of physicians ignore that because yes, there's a high correlation. There's a higher number of kids who have GI issues, but with autism. But shouldn't we be dealing with it? Kids with autism who have sleep problems. It's ignored. Everything is overshadowed by this title, autism. And it's the same thing. It's like my child has autism, and the teachers will immediately be like, "Oh, to find this specialist program for your child," and because they're this, go home and love them, go home and be happy with them, all this sort of stuff. And yes, we lower the bar, and it's not fair to the child. It's just not fair because we're losing talent, and all of the potential that the child has is being ignored and overlooked.
Yeah, it is discriminatory. So Lucy has written in and said, my child is almost 8 and has been in ABA since 4 years old and has learned so much. How do we know when they are ready to graduate? I'm nervous of thinking about my life beyond ABA for my child. The thought makes me feel like the rug is being pulled out from under me. However, I do recognize that the day my child graduates will come at some point. Any advice will help me. Thank you for all you do for our community. This makes me well up. Yes, me well up because I remember when I was exactly there.
Yes. And did she say the child is 4?
The child is 8. The child is 8, and they've been having ABA since they were 4.
Okay, so 4 years, perfect, fantastic. Sounds like a wonderful situation.
Yeah.
So it's reading all about those skills that I was talking about in the beginning. It's about the goals and the areas that are remaining. So that's why these assessments are so important. That's why we always start with an assessment, because you don't know if you don't have a vision of what you want to achieve. It becomes very, very difficult to know if you're going intensely enough, if you have the right people, if the rate of acquisition is good, when to stop. All these types of things become very difficult. But if you have a roadmap, that's what I want to call it. It's like, here we are, and these are the things we have to achieve. This is the path. This is the path we have to be on. We have to get here. So what I want to say is you don't absolutely get there, but you get to a point where your child is learning from their typical environment so rapidly that the last remaining, I'd say maybe 20%, they become on their own. Because what they've learned now is how to learn. My mentor, Lobot, used to always say this, we teach children how to learn. And that's actually a very interesting thing, because you're not teaching them every single concept in the universe. Like, bringing it down to a very basic level. Let's say you're teaching a child something like colors. You're not going to teach them every single color, but you're teaching them the basic colors and the concept of colors. You're catching them up to a level where next time they hear about a new color, they know where to categorize it in their mind, what it is, and how to, so things are different, like once you have gotten into this pattern of learning. So with your child, if they're doing well, you need to assess and see where they are. What are the skills they currently have at 8, right? And what else is remaining? with what's remaining? Are they going to be able to pick those things up with support from you, with support from the school, with maybe a much reduced number of hours? So maybe, I don't know what your child needs, but it will always change. Every year it changes. It's not always going to be the same thing. When we start out with a child on 40 hours of one-to-one, we may be doing 5 other things as well. We might have also speech therapy and OT and maybe some medical intervention. Every year it's going to change because the child changes and their learning changes and what they've mastered and their needs, and all of these things change. So it's almost like you're redoing the program consistently, continuously, and you're modifying and you're looking again and again and again. What does my child need now? What does my child need now at different phases? And that's where you are. And you just have to ask yourself the same question you did when they were 4, which is, what do they need now? What are the things? It doesn't have to be ABA. It could be school is sufficient. It could be, maybe I need a few social skills programs at school. Maybe I need to continue just this program. So you just have to reevaluate.
Yeah. We're getting ready. Sometime we're just trying to figure it out with her schedule, but Bryce Myler is going to be on the show. And she is an amazing resource, you guys. And she is the person that I ran to when I found out that we were just 6 months away from my child graduating, because I was like, I don't know how to live a life without ABA now. Like, I was so resistant in the beginning that it just seemed like ABA wanted to take over my life. And then we got into it and it was good. And so I was like, yes, let ABA take over my life. And it was a cliff for me because I went, what do we do now? I didn't know. And Bryce had already been through that with her son and kind of talked me through it. And there are a group of us, Lucy, and I'm here for you. And Bryce will be here for you too, to talk you through it. But let me just tell you, it's all good. It's all kind of amazing. And when you watch your child start to flourish in the typical environment, it's very exciting. But you're constantly course adjusting and going, okay, what does he need now? Okay, we tried this and it didn't go so well. So what do we need? Just like Dr. Crampy shares.
I want to say, Sharon, also sometimes it's also about what do I need now? Because as parents, you know, your ABA team, if they're a good ABA teams, kind of become your village. You know, they become your people who are working together with you and we're problem solving together and all that sort of stuff. And you can depend on them and all that. And it's scary to give that up and to say, hey, I'm not going to need you guys. I'm on my own from here on. And it is scary. It definitely is. There's no question about it. So perhaps what is important for parents is to find a replacement for yourself as well. And part of that is what Shannon just said. It's kind of like once you're in the community of amazing moms or dads, that can play a role in your support, in the support that you receive, and guidance, because there are lots of moms out there or dads who have incredible experience and being guided as well as support. And also there's other things like it becomes hard when we have the routine of worrying about our child. And so there's a lot of internal stuff that goes on as well in this process. A large part of it is where's my child and what are their needs, but there is a percentage that also has to do with what you're going through. I don't want to discount that because that's a big part of it too. The fear and the anxiety of being alone in this and all of that.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head because she wrote back and said, thank you. Yes, my ABA team is our village. Yeah. And that's really critical and important. But, you just made me realize too, I've been like so over the moon and excited, but also trepidatious about the fact that my kid is graduating from college. And that I keep going, well, I don't know what happens next, right? I didn't plan for this because this is now his plan, right? But that's a big deal for me. But I also have been just calling all the people that I know that their kids graduated from college and saying, okay, so what was that like afterwards? And what just to it? Yeah. Checking in with them because they're my people, right? I also want to say that Reza wrote in and said, my grandson started talking at 4. There is hope. So making sure that we tell that to Anne. Okay, we have another question that came in. I have heard you say to some parents, quote, your child is the type of child that often has the best outcomes. I would love it if you could tell me what you see in a child that makes you say that, and if you ever see children have the best outcomes without those things.
That's a great question.
Right?
Yeah, I said definitely let me go for the first part first. There's a lot of things. I think the first thing that I see is how fast the child learns. Because from my perspective, I don't care where we're starting. It never matters to me where we're starting. It doesn't matter if the child is non-vocal, vocal, completely has a massive number of challenging behaviors, doesn't, has zero social or does. None of that matters to me because from my perspective, I'm coming at it from a point of view that every child can learn. The question becomes, you have to look at it this way. So you have, there's a child and the child is growing in age, right? So there's a line that shows the child is the aging. Every child is aging. We go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Every year that passes, a new set of required behaviors are added in society, right? So like with a 1-year-old, we don't expect every 1-year-old to speak, but we sort of do when the child is 2. And we kind of at 3 expect them to play with their peers. And at 4, we expect them to have conversations with adults and children and, join social. And at 5, we expect that additional academic stuff. And by 6, we expect them to really take care of their own grooming skills. And so as the child ages, additional skills are added, right? Just because that's the physical. So we have this line where it's just, what is a typical 2-year-old supposed to do? What is this typical neurotypical 3-year-old supposed to do? 4-year-old, 5-year-old, etc. And when I'm starting with any child, that's my gauge. Like I want to push them as close as possible to that line, and it takes time. So I have a 2-year-old, and I have, let's say, in the next year, I want to try to teach this child as many skills as I can so that by age 3, they're really close to their typically developing 3-year-old peer. Or maybe I won't reach it at 3. Maybe I'll reach it when they're 4. Maybe I'll reach it when they're 5. Whatever it is. But it all comes down to how fast is my child learning. Because if my child is learning, if I see a child who's learning rapidly, like I can do something with them in a 2-hour session as they've already picked it up, that child's going to learn no matter how much I put in their program, no matter how much I throw at them, they're going to learn it. And that fast rate of acquisition is actually going to catch them up. That's about what it is. It's about catching up to my peers, right? So it is possible to catch up. Now, another kid, it might take years longer. Like this, I've had kids who took 10 years to catch up, right? So they're still faster than just what you learn by aging, but they're not fast enough to pick it up in 2 years or in 3 years, right? It took maybe 10 years for some of my kids. But the point is, they're still learning, right? And some kids, it just becomes very hard to catch up with everything that is required of the next year and the next year. So that's when, as a parent, we select and we say, really, is it important for my child to memorize all these math or geography or whatever academic, let's say? Or is it more important for them to know how to go to the bathroom, know how to have a conversation? You select what's the most important. That's why it's so important for parents to be part of the goal setting process, right? And so that is really what helps me identify where the child's going to go. I spend a couple hours, I see how fast they are in learning. The more attentive a child is to the situation, it helps. Obviously, they're going to go faster. If a child already had language at a very young age, it reduces the number of things I have to teach. That's basically the bottom line. It's like, it's not about whether or not they can develop language. It's just, I have a pile of stuff I want to learn, teach. If that child is smaller, I'm going to get to my goals faster. So yes, children who are less affected are going to have a higher likelihood of coming out of this and actually achieving all those steps. But a child might be highly affected by the symptoms of autism and still have a very rapid rate of learning, and they will get it. This is why, Shannon, I focused so much in the beginning on things that are obstacles to learning. I consider them that. Things like the child doesn't sleep, the child has other medical issues. I want to take care of all of that because the faster that rate of acquisition, no matter what the age, I'm going to have more success, right? So it's kind of like if I was going to learn something new, I'd probably want to make sure I'm also feeling good, sleeping well, I'm not sick, all these other things that go into how fast can I learn, how well can I practice, how much attention can I give this, all that other stuff. So really that's the answer, which is those are the things that I observe in a child: attention, rate of acquisition. Yes, what skills are they coming in with at what age? The other part of this is also the older we get, the more other stuff piles on. For example, with a 2-year-old, I'm not really worried about academics, but at 5, I need to add that to my pile. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the older we get, there's more that society puts on our list.
I find that one of the things in talking to parents, the thing that I'm always talking about is how many opportunities are we giving them to learn?
As also as it is,
because this seems to be the thing that's hard. Because ABA is such a relatively new thing to a newly diagnosed family, there are preconceptions coming in. And I recall when, somebody told me that they were likely going to ask for a 40-hour prescription for my son. And my immediately response was, that's just crazy. That is just crazy. He is 2.5. That's a full-time job. When does he get to be a child? Now, I was lucky because I met Logan's family, and Logan's family said, come and watch how much fun he's having. Come see for yourself how they're teaching him. And so and I was able to look at the studies and go, oh, well, 40 hours is a lot of opportunity. Then, getting to know you, and you were like, that's 40 hours is just the beginning. What are you doing when he's not doing those things, Shannon? I mean, you make an educationally enriched environment all the time, that he's having fun and that it's fair all the time. But I think we get caught up in these things about, what does childhood look like? And there's this idea, I'm calling myself out here. I always say that I had this vision that childhood was going to be me and this pudgy little elf running through a field in slow motion chasing yellow butterflies. Like that it was not going to be us, learning how to help him to learn. And but when I look back and I think about how much fun we had, yes, it was not all easy, but a lot of it was a lot of fun. Plus, what we have now. I just think that the idea of the intensity of it seems to be getting lost. Yeah, and that's very worrisome to me.
It absolutely is a very, very, very important factor. What you do with time. That is the biggest factor, no question about it. And I agree with you. It's scary. When we first started doing ABA, which used to be called behavior modification years ago, there wasn't the option to do less than 40 hours. It was a 40-hour plus program, and that's how it was. The only reason that there is an option is because somebody has to pay for it. Payers don't want to pay that much, so they reduced it. It does not mean that you would not benefit from that. Just think about it. You want to learn anything, a musical instrument, a language, anything. Is it true or not that the more time you do put into it, the faster you're going to learn? That goes back to my rate of acquisition thing. It is all about how fast you learn something because then you're aging. Also, the other thing that parents think is that we really significantly slow down on learning new things after the age of 7. So, like, this is really important. 7. Before 7, the brain is able to really produce dendrites and neurons, right? Whatever we focus on, we start to grow nerve cells in that area of the brain, and it becomes populated with dendrites, and it's nourishing. After 7, it starts to slow down, and as you and I know, the older we get, the harder it gets to learn new things, right? But the issue is that, and this is why, by the way, children are fluent in their own language and you can pick up 5, 6, 7 languages if you're exposed to them before it's 7. And this is absolutely right, Janet. I know it sounds crazy, but it isn't. It's not drilling. It's not class time. It's it's structure in your life. So for instance, you could be playing outside, and if you're with an ABA therapist, they're helping you identify all the different things in the playground and how you can approach other kids and, how bugs sit on trees and all the things that you did not learn up to that point. So it is structuring every environment in that sense that you can pull knowledge out of everything that you're doing.
Yeah. I want to address, Lucy wrote back in and said, yes, I have anxiety about making the wrong decision when it comes to therapies.
Yeah.
And I'm sending you a hug, Lucy, because I think that's all of us. That we all have this ridiculous idea, Dr. Grant-Pichet, that we are supposed to know what the path is, get on the path, and that once we're on it, there will be no deviation and it will all work out, which is not life.
No, and it's definitely not autism as well, because autism is so wide and we've not really identified all of it. So it's kind of and it's different for every child. That's the part that's really hard. It's not like, you have diabetes, we all need insulin, this is the guideline, etc. It's different for every child. So you need to find people who are able to give you enough. In my opinion, Janet, so it's kind of like having a group of moms or dads who are experienced is the best, because they will bring a lot of different experiences, and then you can sit and think, I wonder if this is right for my child. It's exactly what you went through also with the gluten intolerance, casein. It's like there's a lot with autism. We have to talk about dietary, right? That's another thing we did through within the last several decades. It's very selective. Some children never go on a diet, never need to go on a diet, and other children really regret when they're exposed to these types of foods. And nobody knew this stuff just 30 years ago. So it's kind of it is a very active, moving field, and you just have to make sure that you keep up and just keep thinking. But it is, and I understand the anxiety. Don't be anxious. Think of it as kind of an adventure, honestly, and you have people who have been there before you, and you have such an incredible population of parents who are always reaching out and helping others.
And I just want to say, Lucy, I think the single most important thing is you're there. You're going to notice if something is working, great. And if something isn't working, you're on the job, you'll notice, and you'll try something slightly different or try something very different. And so in that way, you help yourself to trust yourself. If it's not working, you'll change the course. So I'm sending you a hug, and I'm always here for you. We're out of time.
Yeah.
So I just want to say happy birthday to you, Ernie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for celebrating with me. I appreciate it. Love my gift.
And we just want to remind everybody that tomorrow there is a panel of doctors. Dr. Grant-Pichet is one of them. These are high-level professionals that are going to be talking to you about P2I. And really what they're talking about is toxicity. And there are 3 major studies that have come out that have told us a great deal about toxicity, and you're going to hear all about it tomorrow. It's mind-blowing. The show is a little bit longer than our typical shows, but I'm telling you, it's the one not to miss. Do you agree, Dr.?
Absolutely. And P2I is pregnancy to infancy, and it talks about the things you can do during pregnancy that will significantly influence the child's future.
But also, you're going to be hearing things about now that whatever age your child is, whatever age you are, about reducing your health risks and making the best possible health decisions for your children and yourself now. So don't miss that tomorrow. And then don't miss our 2 shows in Espanol on Thursday and Friday. And I will be there watching with you tomorrow. I cannot wait, and I'll be answering any questions that I can answer during the show. And Rosie said happy birthday to you also.
Thank you very much.
All right, we got to let you go. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Granby-Shea. Thank you for all of you who participated. Be here tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Hi, everyone.